Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Tuesday, November 25th edition of the Daily Pulse. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the Well Point Studios here in beautiful, historic downtown Lowell, just a couple of days away from the big Thanksgiving holiday, my personal favorite holiday of the year. And of course, a few days after that, the big City of Lights celebration here in the city of Lowell. And we invite everybody to come on down, see the parade, partake in all the day's festivities, and of course, the ceremonial lighting of the Christmas lights throughout the city of Lowell, the downtown, our city hall, and of course, that big smokestack Christmas tree out by the Wanalancet Mills. All of that is this weekend. Of course, before we get to that, we still have a couple of things to keep you up to date on, and very excited today because we're happy to introduce, for the first of what we hope is many visits here on the Daily Pulse, if I don't scare her off first today, Erin Gendron, Lowell City Council candidate back in District 3 this year, the newest media member, dare I say, through her out of the running Facebook posts each and every week, and who knows what the future holds in store, but I'm glad that part of it is being here on the Daily Pulse with us, Erin.
Sure, I'm happy to be here.
How are things going?
Yeah, it's going great. I dropped in out of the running this morning, actually.
I watched it bright and early this morning. You talked about the recount, the brownout, and excitement over saving Smith Baker Center. Right. So we encourage folks to get on over. That's on your Facebook page, right?
Yep.
And
it's also on Instagram too.
And on Instagram. Okay, excellent. That's always the last social media I check. I'm an old fart. I'm not like you. But so you've been doing this now, what, a couple of months, right?
We started, I think, just right after. Well, right when I was out of the running, right?
Hence the name.
Yeah.
And what's the goal behind it? What's your thought process behind it?
Sure. So my goal is, they're just really quick updates of just kind of things that I'm a mom in the city, and these are things that I think about that, hey, you know what? That's important, that people should kind of see what's coming new to our city, to see what's going on in City Hall. And I didn't know if I could talk to an empty chair. So they are quick reels, but it's intentional. In this day and age, I think that it's to reach kind of people my age, and, you know, you're swiping and it's 2 to 5 minutes just to kind of see what's going on.
Yeah, and you're not a blowhard like me. You won't talk to yourself for 30, 45 minutes like that.
I don't know if I can talk to myself for that long.
I've been talking to myself my whole life. Well, I'm glad to see it. I make sure I check it out. I watched it this morning before we went on. You usually release it either the morning after or the day after the city council meeting or the day of. How does that work?
Yeah, I'm trying to be more consistent with like it being a couple of days after the city council, but life,
motherhood, and life get in the way. Well, welcome to the Lowell media sphere. The more voices, the better, and I certainly welcome your voice here on the Daily Pulse and the Inside Lowell as much as possible. You were the star of election night, other than the election results themselves, with your prediction of that tight District 3 race. We all we looked at you, were like, all right, she's right. It's going to be close, but not within 25 votes, as you said. Hell, you overestimated it. Were you weren't surprised at all by that, though?
No, I mean, everyone I talked to, it was 1 for 1, and they both worked really hard. So, and it literally was just 1 for 1, and so I just knew it would be as close as it could be. Yeah. And
it did turn out to be. But finally, we know we've had the recount. Belinda Duran, I guess, could finally exhale, and right. I felt bad for her in a way, because she she just wanted to celebrate and get about, the task of preparing, but she also couldn't officially do it until the recount went through. So, right. It was a tough spot for both of them to be in, but great race, great candidates. Heck, the preliminary was a great race. 4 great candidates. You were one of them. And I'm glad that your voice isn't being silenced after the election. It seems to be picking up steam. So who knows what the future holds in store for you. But excited to have Erin Gendron here. Excited to have you with us as well. We're going to get right to our discussion. Lots of stuff to talk about, including Erin's appearance tonight at the upcoming Lowell City Council meeting. What is she going to be talking about? Well, we'll tell you in a quick second. First, let me thank my Daily Pulse sponsor, Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Mass and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, you need to find Ray Booten today. And the good news is you can find him easily enough online, realestaterayBooten.com. That's realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to WellPoint for hosting us here in the WellPoint studios. It's the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thank you to Ray. Thank you to WellPoint. Some other podcast sponsors we'll thank in a few minutes. But all right, Erin, we've teased it out there. You're going to be appearing tonight at the Lowell City Council meeting. What's bringing you to the floor?
Sure. So last month at our Board of Health meeting, we had 4 of the 11 counselors came. The Board of Health invited the city councilors to come and to have conversations that we have every month. But, they had put in 2 motions. One was to stop needle exchange 1,000 feet from schools, and the other one was 1,000 feet from schools and 1,100 feet from parks. So it was something that we had talked about, when you make it 1,100 feet from parks, that basically puts a geographic barrier to that service, because it would be a tiny little area of Pawtuckaville, and also the vans need to be in a parking lot. So what parking lot would it be there? And then a tiny little area of Belvedere, basically like Burnham Road. And there's no parking lot there. There's a bus route, but no parking lot. I don't know if Rita wants it on her street. So, but that's it. So that really makes it so that service is no longer available to the people who need it. The 1,000 feet from schools was really what when we looked at the map and where that sits, that's feasible. We're able to do it. And we don't want this near our kids. The Board of Health in no way is saying that what's happening right now is good. But how do we make it so that we can all kind of coexist, right? So 1,000 feet from schools, having that meeting with the counselors, I feel like it was mostly very productive. Lisa Golden got 2 of just top shelf educated in public health people to come in and speak. I mean, Dr. Wally was, because the needle exchange is to prevent infectious disease. It doesn't really, there's some science that it helps with the substance misuse to get people to stop using, but it really is disease prevention. So one of the speakers was Dr. Wally. I mean, he worked in Kensington during the 1990s and ground zero for infectious control, top shelf as a doctor and someone able to speak on this. So they got to hear kind of from the professionals, this is what we think. The ordinance came out, and I think that it was a little bit of a shock, because I think we had thought, one of the DPH people said that they would be willing to come back and to talk about what kind of cleanup services and funding is available to help us with this issue, because they very much heard that the needles being left in schools, that's the issue, right? So there are ways that we can mitigate that, and it came across like there would be another meeting to talk about what the ordinance would look like. So I think we were all just a little shocked at okay, there's this already came out, and now there's a public hearing and we're going to talk about it there, but not in a Board of Health meeting, which was a little different.
So what is the specific language calling for in this ordinance that's going to be discussed tonight?
So tonight I'm going to actually talk about the specific language that's in the ordinance, just in case it doesn't come back to the Board of Health. I feel like some of the language doesn't necessarily work, but what the ordinance that came out, it's not about the parks. It's 1,000 feet from the schools that there can be no needle exchange. It doesn't specifically say to everyone, but we do have 2 sanctioned agencies that report to DPH that needle exchange. But it should be to everyone, to anyone coming into the city, bringing needles to people who need them in an exchange format.
Okay. And just to be clear, the 1,000 feet from a school does not eliminate the program, whereas if you went 1,000 and 1,100 feet from a park,
From schools and
from schools
parks.
and parks. You
Yeah.
would basically eliminate the entire city except those two little
Right.
patches that you talked about. Okay.
Yep.
So the ordinance as written and is going to be discussed on the floor tonight does allow them certain places in the city.
Yes.
Okay. What is your thoughts on it and your concerns about it?
My thoughts on it are, I think getting it away from the schools is fine. I don't know that the result will be exactly what people think. I think that we started to have really constructive conversations at the Board of Health meeting. It is not just public health, though. I think that we need to bring in all the this is a multidisciplinary approach, and we have a couple arms that haven't come to the table. So I think that the language just needs to be really worked out to be very clear. There was a part of it that says that they're asking these agencies to report to the police personal demographics and like basically who they're serving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that information was never talked about. It was just kind of put in there. So there's just some language stuff that really, I think, would be better served in a subcommittee or back at the Board of Health to kind of really suss out the language to make it work.
All right. Oftentimes when we see ordinances like this, the solicitor or the appropriate department that writes the ordinance for the administration seeks out an example, another community that's doing something like this. To your knowledge and what was discussed at the Board of Health meeting, was there a specific model used for Lowell's particular ordinance? Did they follow, say, the Boston model, the Cambridge model, Lawrence, wherever it may be? Right. Was that ever brought up? It could be Seattle or wherever in the
right. I don't know that actually. Yeah, okay. I know because we do look at other ordinances and how they are in other towns.
Right. Instead of reinventing the wheel, it makes sense, especially from a legal component, right?
Right. I don't know where they used. So
okay. So this of course is strictly on the needle exchanges. Has nothing to do with the safe injection or overdose prevention centers, however we're going to word it. Discussion from last week, correct?
Right. This is something that exists in our city right now, so that's why we've talked about it. And so this is just to do with this ordinance with the needle exchange. Yeah.
Okay. And the counselors and the Board of Health, I count the Board of Health, by the way, as experts, but they have heard expert testimony on this. So there was a little bit of a criticism of the last week's discussion on the overdose prevention centers that they didn't hear from experts. It was discussed at the Board of Health meeting, though, right? Just to kind of clarify that the last time.
It was, but it also, there's no parameters around it that say, like, how can you discuss something that you don't know how it will exist in your city? So I think that's tough. But they did have, there was, I think they mentioned it. I think there's some information in the packet too that they went over.
And did the Board of Health not take a stand on that? If I remember from my interview with Lisa Golden a couple of weeks back.
Well, we weren't asked to discuss it, and we didn't have we're not taking a specific stand on it because we don't know the specifics of the program yet.
Okay.
It's still in, they haven't even reported it out yet, and it was due last Monday.
All right. So back to the needles program now. Do you believe there's a public health benefit to it? You sit on the Board of Health. Mm-hmm. So we should, I don't know if we mentioned that beforehand. Erin's not just coming out here as a former political candidate or a private citizen / mom. This is also something that you do. You sit on that Board of Health.
Yes.
Do you believe that they will listen to what you have to say tonight and make some alterations to it, or do you believe it's kind of a fait accompli and the matter will be discussed and voted on this evening?
No, I think that it was mostly productive use of time, and I think I'm not opposed to the schools. I think that I have 2 school-age kids, so I understand the essence of the motion. I just don't know. I would like to have the person from DPH come back to the table to talk about what they can offer in terms of being the funding and ability to help us with some of the cleanup.
Okay. Let's talk about the overall theory of this harm reduction measure. There's a million different harm reduction measures. I saw a presentation from I think it was from the Board of Health at the time, seatbelts
Right.
are a harm reduction measure. So, but these particularly, the ones that particularly involve drug use, they're the ones that are starting to get really controversial all over the place. And, you know, a story in today's Boston Herald that we'll get to in a second. But your overall thought on needle exchange programs, are they beneficial? And if they are, in what sense, to what extent are they beneficial? Where do they not make a lick of difference?
I think that they're beneficial in terms of disease prevention and infectious, like quelling the spread of infectious disease. Like that's what the harm reduction is, right? It's reducing the transmission of diseases.
And the main diseases that you hear discussed all the time, HIV, AIDS, or hepatitis. Hepatitis C, I believe.
All three, yeah.
Okay.
All of them.
Oh, yeah, actually HIV
All
and
bloodborne,
AIDS are
yeah.
different. Okay. How big of an issue is that right now with, are they, so we kind of know the depths of the opiate abuse, the overdose crisis, the drug crisis. We kind of know the numbers that we're dealing with there. How big of a public health problem is the spread of hepatitis, HIV, AIDS?
We see outbreaks of hepatitis. Like we have the numbers on that. There was big. Cape Cod had a huge last year, I believe. Cape Cod, especially in like the migrant community, they had really high numbers of Hep C. So we do know the numbers. I think that might have been a different
that wasn't due to
different
drug
cause,
injection,
right?
though,
Different
right?
cause,
Okay.
but we see the numbers. I mean, in 2017, which is when this came out, the rest of the country kind of had it under control, and Lawrence and Lowell didn't. Like we had the highest in, this area for infectious disease. So I think there is benefit to it, but I think it's also okay to say we can do better, right? We could do better. That's why they're offering the services and the funding to help us with the unintended consequence of needle pickup, right?
So the numbers, you've seen the numbers have improved since you talked about 2017, the outbreaks of
right.
hepatitis and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you believe that's due to the needle exchange programs.
Yeah, I think the science is there around it.
Okay. How does that, one of my bones of contention with the way people are choosing to attack this issue, and rather than treat the overall beast of a drug addiction and injecting unsafe drugs and in an unsafe manner, is that while the needle exchange programs may reduce HIV, hepatitis, whatever, they're not attacking the core of the problem, so it's never going away. And it seems that addiction problem is growing even worse in the process here. As you look at it from a member of the Board of Health, what's a more pressing issue to tackle?
So I think that this has to be, like I said, there's a couple arms that are not coming to the table. And I think that this is a very multi-pronged approach. When you drive down Appleton Street or I don't know, sorry, I'm losing my streets, but Appleton Street, like that area,
No trouble, yeah.
at night, or Jackson Street, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're down there at night and you look and you see people slumped over and they're using, and it's sad, it's a very sad state, and everybody turns to the right and they look at the addicts, but turn to the left and look at the car, look at the Beamer and the guy sitting in it counting his money, right? Like there's other parts at play. And I think that unless we have a multidisciplinary approach where we're looking at those needles get filled with drugs and how do the drugs get here, there's many different things that need to be tackled in this. It's not just the health part.
Would it be a better strategy to go after it full force? And by that, I mean, in trying to get these folks the at-risk population, generally drug users, intravenous drug users, but also it's people that there's a mental health component to it as well. Wouldn't it make more sense to pour all of these resources that are currently being poured into, the street crews out there, the needle exchanges, the discussion about, overdose prevention, safe injection sites? Wouldn't it be better to pour that all into a more comprehensive strategy that gets these folks off the streets and into treatment centers for some length of time almost as a mandatory component, where with the school of thought being they're not in a condition to help themselves, either because the addiction is so severe they can't make good judgments, or the mental health issue that goes along with the addiction doesn't allow them to make a common sense decision to try to help themselves. Your thoughts on that?
I think that if we had better treatment options in the state, then I could see that. But I don't think jail works. That's not, if you're injecting with a needle in your arm, your self-worth is so small. And you represent Megan's House, right?
Yep.
That is an amazing program, and they build people back up. And I think that just putting someone in jail and thinking that that's gonna, that as a treatment option, that it's mandatory and you're there. If we had better treatment facilities, if we had places that used a trauma first sensitive approach, then I think that could work, but we're not there yet.
So why aren't we hearing that? And that's my big concern. I hear the public health officials arguing over needle distribution and other things. I don't hear them pushing the state legislature. You got to open up these treatment facilities. You've got to find buildings that you have. And while jail is not the answer, we've got a bunch of prisons that we've, in essence, shut down. Why can't they be converted into treatment facilities, large-scale treatment facilities that have some component of security and oversight? Why do we never hear this focus on Beacon Hill? And a few times you do hear it, people kind of run from it, from what I see.
We're a Democratic state, and Trump is pushing it in a way that I don't think makes people warm and fuzzy and want to run in that direction. I don't know. I don't really know.
So interesting enough, the city of Boston is about to retool its approach. And there's talk that, in an effort to combat mass and caste, Boston is going to look at other ways of doing things rather than how they've been doing it since the beginning of Mayor Wu's term. And they've cited something called Section 35, which is basically you're involuntarily committing people for a period of time, whether it's 30 days, 60, 90, whatever that number is. Would that be a better approach than... Would it be nicer if Mayor Wu proposed it instead of Donald Trump? I guess. Will it make it more palatable in Massachusetts?
If the facilities and the approach to treatment is better than what we have today, so I think we have to look at it from that lens. If you're gonna make it a place that people feel comfortable and they're able to go there to get help, and it's not jail, then I think, but 30 days, I don't know is the answer either. We know that it needs to be long-term, because and these people can't go back to out to the streets, because you're going to just repeat a cycle that then it's just a continual waste of money.
Correct. Yeah. If you're not getting the comprehensive services, the counseling, the addiction counseling, the mental health counseling, the education, job skills training to give you a path out of it, you're done. But what I do think that we're starting to see, though, is people have realized what's been going on for the last handful of years is not working. And you're starting to see a public pushback against it. The Boston Herald this morning ran a story, titled it, Syringe City, Boston hands out 4.5 million needles to drug users during Mayor Wu's tenure. Now, she just reelected mayor. She was elected in 2021, but here are the numbers, and this is just needle exchange. The numbers are staggering. Over 100,000 needles per month. Yeah. The first year of her administration, 1.28 million needles were handed out. 1.25 in her second year, 1.15 in year 3, and we're currently on a pace for 1.01. Now, I guess the good news is that the number is decreasing a little bit, but mass and caste has not gotten better. It's arguably gotten worse. The addiction crisis has not gotten better. It's arguably getting worse with these new drugs that are now finding their way onto the streets. do you at least understand where the pushback is coming from politically, from whether it's Lowell City Councilors or Boston City Councilors, and now it seems Boston public health officials?
I do, but I mean, like I said, it's a multidisciplinary thing, and keep in mind, the judges won't come to the table. We elect the governor's council, so where are they at the table? You know, it's not just public health. Like there's many parts to this, and if we don't take that approach of all encompassing, then you're just cutting off your nose to spite your face, and that's, you know, I think that we'll just continue to go in a circle. It's
The judges in the legal system need to come to the table, at least, again, not to lock people up and throw away the key, but
lock up the drug dealers.
To lock up the drug look, if we're not going to lock up the drug dealers, if we're just going to let them back out on the street, you know, last week, Tewksbury police arrested a young woman who killed somebody just 8 years ago in Lowell, and she's back out on the street in less than 8 years, and she's dealing serious drugs again. I mean, if we're not going to get serious about that, we might as well. None of this is going to work. Needle exchanges, harm reduction. There is one component I have to ask, though, because in that same Boston Herald story was this little tidbit here. It appears the Boston Public Health Commission didn't want to give up this information voluntarily. It had to be Freedom of Information Act requested, but it turns out the Herald was asking how many crack pipes and other drug paraphernalia is the Public Health Commission handing out. And the quote in that middle paragraph there, BPHC, Boston Public Health Commission, objects to the use of the terms crack pipes and another drug paraphernalia. Smoking pipes is an overdose prevention strategy that makes it less likely for people to overdose compared to injections. Pipes are also better for public safety because they do not pose a biohazard risk to the public if discarded improperly. And then they're upset that they don't, you know, that the Boston Herald again used crack pipes and other drug paraphernalia.
Language is important.
Language is important, but when you start parsing your policy on what language is used, I think you've lost the argument. So,
but you know what? Because I had a problem with this with the city council and some of the way that language, and I've addressed those people individually. Language is important, and when it's easy to push something away from yourself when you've made it not human. And so it is important. I'll die on that.
All right. My question was, it's clear from that response that the Boston Public Health Commission and whatever organizations are out there on the streets distributing needles, and by the way, there are other objects that they're hygiene products and whatnot, they're also distributing pipes that can be used to smoke crack and other drugs. Is that happening here in Lowell? Are these organizations that are distributing needles also handing out, to your knowledge, materials that can be used as crack pipes, or the stuff that we recently banned in, you know, Jay's food store and other places?
I don't think that's something it's not something I've heard is happening. I mean, the question was asked at the council meeting. I think Corey Robinson asked that one. Is that something? And the professional did say, you know, it is a harm reduction strategy. I don't think that if it is, maybe it happened a few times. Like, I think it's a one-off. I don't think that that's something that's happening regularly here.
Okay. Is it a harm reduction? Is it an improvement over needles using a pipe that may be being shared just like needles were being shared? Is that helping the other issues of HIV, hepatitis, et cetera?
So I think hepatitis, like it's body function, body fluids pass things. I think I would be curious as to when that the numbers were collected on that. It doesn't have a date, right? So I think during COVID too, like that was, like I said, I think it was a one-off here. I could see that at that time because it's going in your mouth and trying to reduce the COVID. So I don't know. I'd have to look more into that.
All right. We're chatting with Erin Gendron, a member of the Lowell Board of Health. former Lowell City Council candidate, future Lowell City Council candidate, maybe future state rep candidate. Who knows? The sky's the limit for her. She is also on her Facebook page and on Instagram. You can see her weekly updates about things happening in the city and in particular with our city council and recent meetings. We'll continue our discussion, taking it in a few different directions as well. First, let me thank all of my Daily Pulse sponsors. Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Mass and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both states as well. Find him online, realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to WellPoint at WellPoint. Your whole health is their whole point. Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, TMI Cares, managing and developing their own properties for over 30 years. Experience the quality, the care, and the value of making TMI the choice for your home. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to generations of families throughout Greater Lowell and southern New Hampshire since 1925, and by the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in our communities through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Back with Erin Gendron. I do want to talk about one other, what I think is a public health issue, but it's one of those core issues that city councils deal with, trash and recycling. But executive session, you on your latest Out of the Running little video snip there, you talked about the Smith Baker Center. It's saved. To your delight, I'm happy for them too. I'm quite frankly shocked that they were able to pull it off and save that building, find somebody to finance it in a way that they can repurpose it and use it in a positive. Again, there is one lady on Facebook who's all upset about the fact that it's going to affect parking near the public library, which was bizarre. But anyway, there was a little blowback. Councilor 𝐄𝐫𝐢𝐧 posted on social media, upset that the results of the executive session, which was, I guess, a unanimous vote, 11-0 by the city council to sell it for whatever the price was to this Lowell Center for the Arts group, and it now needs to come in front of the full city council for one more vote. I'm understand. Councilor Robinson explained to me yesterday why it still had to go to executive session, because the council may have wanted to negotiate the terms a little bit differently. Anyway, they accepted it, approved it unanimously, and now we're off. Is that a big deal, the executive session component of it and the quote unquote violation of executive session?
It is, because it's an open meeting law, right? And open meeting laws are important. It's how we have transparency in government. I'm very excited for them. So I did report on it, but made sure it came from the Lowell Sun. That's where I got the information. But I mean, I would have loved to know what's going on with the senior center, but it's not out there yet. So we can't. And there's
still
reasons for that, right? Because
right?
it's still part of negotiations. So I think that's tough because we need open meeting laws. It is what guides us, but still very excited for them.
Well, the point of the open meeting laws, though, is to be transparent, let the people know what's going on. I get that there was a negotiation, but once that vote was taken, my thought about how this came out, and maybe I'm wrong, but unless somebody spoke, somebody from the council spoke to the Lowell Sun, nobody from the council spoke to me, but the day after, or 2 days after, the Lowell Center for the Arts group posted on their Facebook page, we did it, we got the thing, and it was a unanimous vote. Yeah. My hunch is that's how everybody found out about it. Now, I would assume they were notified by somebody at City Hall, whether it was the council or the administration or whatever, your offer, the deal has been accepted, right? That's normal. Nobody's breaking any laws there, right?
I don't know.
The offer's been accepted.
Though. But if you get sloppy here, you could be sloppy here, and we're just going to turn a blind eye. I think the rules are the rules, right? So when that executive session ended, they had the choice to go back into chambers and to say, we're going to put this on public record, take a vote to release the minutes, and then there you go. The same thing. Then it's released and good to go, because it was the same night. They went right after the council meetings. Then
correct. But so the council is not supposed to say anything, right? Until they get into public session.
Right.
Is the group that's told your offer has been accepted, are they bound by the same rules of silence as the city council and the government are?
But they're not in the executive session.
No, but somebody has to, but somebody would, it stands to reason that somebody would notify them like, hey, we have a deal. It has to get formally voted on in a couple of weeks. But if once they're notified.
Would it have been too hard to go back into public session, say, take the vote, and then let people
they don't
know?
like to work after 10 o'clock at night.
Well.
We've seen that this council doesn't want to work past 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
So it's becoming a little bit of a big deal. I got a hunch it'll become a big deal at the next meeting when it comes up for a vote. In the grand scheme of things, if it was the Lowell Center for the Arts group that put the information out there, I'm not sure they're bound by the same requirements as the city is
Now,
in
if there are
terms of
quotes
executive session.
in the article, then there's a problem.
Right, which I did not see. I mean, hey, look, they were even before Tuesday night, last 2 Fridays ago. The group was here saying, "Hey, we're going to appear in front of them, and we think we have a deal." They didn't give all the specifics of it, but they thought they had a deal. So technically, it's an enthusiastic group. Yeah. You have to be. All right, Medford. Marty Laurie brought this up yesterday on the Daily Pulse. Medford has a proposal to go to trash pickup every other week. And then as part of that, they're going to expand their programs separating food waste. Food waste not allowed into the regular trash and whatnot. It kind of that part of it kind of piggybacks on something the state has been doing. Large producers, I think it's over a ton a month, and then they lowered it to half a ton a month of food waste. Can't put it in the regular garbage. The plan is for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to do that for all food establishments by 2028, and then for all residences by 2030, as I read the Boston Herald story about the Medford trash. 2 separate issues. Trash every other week. Public health component. Is this a good idea, Erin?
So I read a different article about the Medford one. So Medford has compost. I believe from what I thought I read, they already have compost for residential. So the press release that came from their mayor was like, "Ooh, shiny, $200,000 grant that we just got to get more bins to contribute for the compost." And then at the very end of the article was like, "Oh, and by the way, starting in July, every other week, we're going to do trash pickup," which is like,
right. They threw that out at the back of it, and there was no public hearing or anything.
No, right. Open meeting law violation up the yang. There we go.
From a public health, from a practical standpoint, I think people are going to lose their minds.
Yeah.
I remember when they talked about going to yard clippings every couple of weeks in Lowell, people lost their minds. But now we're talking trash. From a public health standpoint, is this a good idea, even if it saves money?
All right. So if your food waste is separate in a latch, like the bin has to be latched, it's very specific about how you would keep that in a integrated pest management system, how you would keep pests out of the compost. Then if you think about your trash, all right, so if all your food waste is over here, like what else is in the garbage can that is going to be smelly, yucky trash? Environmentals don't come for me, but even if they had given me the $200,000 directly when my kids were in diapers, I wouldn't be able to do it. Thank God for my husband. He did the diaper genie every time, but I just...
Me too.
Right? Like, no. And in July, the hottest of the months, like gross. That would be really difficult.
I didn't even think of the diaper component of it, but you're right.
Because what else would really be in your trash?
Right.
If you take the food out, then like what else is in your trash that's like really bad for 2 weeks? I think that, and they have them up. Like they have mice issues in every city, and I think that that's what I kind of read about. In order for you to do composting citywide, if you're going to do residentials, and even with like restaurants, like if your city already has an overrun of mice, you have to handle that first. And you handle it by exclusion. So you get the food waste away from, like, make sure that rats can't get into the food. or remove the food source, exclude them so they're not like coming into buildings, and then don't disturb like where mice live normally, right? And then traps if you like have to. That's IPM, but I feel like they have the data. Like, how's it working out so far?
Yeah, although not citywide. Their program is a pilot program, right?
So I think maybe people have to buy into it.
Right.
Yeah.
But to do it citywide, can it be done realistically? Can you separate food waste realistically from...
It can't be done in this way because it sounds like they don't have the citizens' buy-in. If you have citizens, I mean, it's part of controlling human behavior. This is why I get nerdy and I really love to watch human behavior. But if people are not fully bought in, then you have a problem. And I think that just this alone, by it not being so transparent, you don't have the community's buy-in. And then I just don't think it will be as successful as it could be.
And in a city of Lowell, like a city like Lowell, I could imagine it being even more challenging where, we're told one of the biggest barriers to recycling properly is the language barrier and education. And every couple of years, our solid waste and recycling department over there at City Hall, the trash czars, as I used to call poor Gunther, would go on these educational things to try to educate people, but you've got to do it in multiple languages. You have a lot of multi-unit dwellings and this and that, which further complicates things. As I'm listening, the state's goal is to do this by 2030. We're talking 4 years and a month away. Like, so we've got a little petri dish, a guinea pig in Medford. I'm curious what their data looks like. But now you're going to put it on steroids throughout the entire state, which means Lowell will have to do it. First of all, the containers themselves, the recycling and trash bins are these plastic things. They get pretty expensive, but they're plastic. You're going to need something more than plastic to wheel out food waste every week or every 2 weeks or whatever that
Well, not if you have two growing boys, then, I don't have that much food waste in my house.
My kid is not old enough yet to do it, even though my daughter tries to. But
oh, no, I mean, they eat a lot. We don't have that much food waste.
Yeah, plus then they can take it out. But it seems to me like it's in concept great. When you put it into practice, I think of the Black Plague and the Middle Ages and these massive public health outbreaks.
Yeah, and I think we're doing a good job in trying to get a handle on. There's actually a subcommittee tonight that they're going to talk about an IPM regulations for developments. So when you break ground, there might be mice that live in that ground, and then the mice go everywhere. So there are integrated pest management systems that you can use to prevent that. So that way, if they're doing construction in your neighborhood, that your house doesn't get overrun with mice because that area was disturbed. So I think that our eyes are on it, and the rodenticide thing really kind of helped with that, right? It brought it to light that there's chemicals out there that are being used that we need to backtrack, because it's just like DEET back in the day. Like DEET killed off a lot of bald eagles, and this is very similar to that it kills up the food chain. And there are other better things that we can use, but part of it is that you have to manage human behavior, which is really hard. Like in the schools now, since COVID, kids eat in the classroom, and that makes it even harder to be able to manage like where that food is and mice and all that stuff. So
I'm from what I was trying to figure out what's the big deal about mixing. It all goes to the same place, and from what I could gather, methane gases, the food waste creates more methane gas, which when you mix it into the dump sites or whatever, is what's harming the environment. They still have to, even if you separate the food, you still have to dispose of it somehow, right? Doesn't the methane gas become
No, I think it's compost, so then they make soil with it. Like they're composting it to like soil and other things.
Sure, you're going to create an awful lot of food waste soil, and it doesn't happen overnight, by the way, right?
Right.
It happens. So again, when you start trying to compost this at a really large scale, are you going to have some unforeseen circumstances? Is my question, my concern. wouldn't it be better to just try to figure out technologies that would take care of the methane gas? from
Let's get Miss Lowell on that.
I would like to think that they're working on it as we speak. That's like a great idea. Why can't we just find technologies to deal with the issues that we have rather than try to fix something but not know exactly what we're fixing, so to speak.
Right.
All right. I think I may have gotten you into enough trouble for one podcast, but I do want to give you an opportunity. You've been now working with an organization to make a difference in your community, and you've got an upcoming fundraiser. Take it away.
So the Greater Lowell Children's Fund is a very small nonprofit. We work solely to help give children in foster care enrichment opportunities. So the way that I view it is anything that you would pay for and do for your kids, that's what the Children's Fund does for kids in foster care. Kids in foster care have a lot more barriers to enrichment opportunities. So just by nature, they just do. So we try to do whatever we can to anything from piano lessons, bikes, coats, to after school programs, like anything that kids in foster care need. But this fundraiser is specific to teens. If you have any teens at home, they're the hardest to buy gifts for. And we have such wonderful donors who help with toy drives and all of those things. But our teens are just ones that we always struggle to, like, what are we going to get them? And gift cards are something that are on their list every year. And it's always hard for us to do that. So it's going to be at the Old Court on December 17th, and it is a gift card drive.
Okay. And the organization, again, is called?
The Greater Lowell Children's Fund.
And by Greater Lowell, how far out do the tentacles stretch? How far out?
So we help the Greater Lowell DCF. So they cover, I think, 16 cities and towns. So it's their catchment area.
How many people would you say are served by what you guys do throughout the course of a year? Are we talking dozens? Are we talking hundreds, thousands?
Probably 1,000. Yeah. Because we host their children's Christmas party. So that's like, all the foster parents are able to bring the kids there. It helps too, because sometimes siblings are in different foster homes. They'll get to see their siblings at those events. We also do a trunk or treat. We're trying to do a siblings kind of like retreat this summer, like just like a day out. So
it's a pretty big stretch. Has the organization been around?
I want to say 15 years 15? Or so. Okay. Yeah.
And do we know how many kids are in foster care throughout the Commonwealth?
Oh, you're asking me numbers. Okay. I don't have.
I'm just curious, because I'm not sure people understand how important, or would understand until you kind of get into the numbers.
And the Children's Fund's not one. We do one fundraiser a year, and it helps. We have private donors, and it just helps us throughout the year. This is the only time we really we do a golf tournament, and that's pretty much it.
So there is no salary, there is no payroll. Every single penny raised goes to providing these gifts or these opportunities.
Yes.
For the children, and in particular, your focus on this fundraiser, teenagers, makes sense. Anyone can go buy some toys, bring it off, and we'll have information on former Senator Panagiotakis' annual toy drive, which is coming up. But you're right, for teenagers. Yeah, pushing a dolly around isn't as cool. So how do folks learn more about it? Do you have a website, Facebook page? Give all the info, please, Erin.
So I have a flyer coming. I will post that up. I'll send it to you, and we can put it out. When we do our golf tournament, we have we use Zeffy. You can donate there, and then it's a registered 501c.
So you're such a bamboo operation. You don't even have a Facebook page. Right. Well, we'll help you get the word out. Erin Gendron, thank you so much for joining us today for what I hope will be the first of many appearances here on the Daily Pulse. We're going to work into that Marty Laurie, Greg Pappas rotation. Maybe not to the Bill Samaras level, but if you want to, you're more than welcome to come in as often as possible. Yeah, Bill never responded when I asked him if he's coming in tomorrow. But thank you so much. Thanks for staying involved in the community, and I look forward to seeing more from you.
Thank you. Your time is my pleasure.
All right. Thank you to Erin Gendron. Thank you as well for joining us here on the Daily Pulse, the show that keeps its finger on the pulse of Lowell and the world around it. Tomorrow, I think Bill Samaras is going to join me. I have no idea what else we have planned. Friday, no show Thursday, Thanksgiving. I'm going to be engorging myself with turkey and football all day, so you won't have to deal with me. But Friday, the Daily Pulse Live special edition featuring the Pod Squad and the fabulous Lindsay, and of course, our special guest, my very own sister-in-law, who comes home for the holidays, and will be here to help Batch and everybody else pick on me. So keep it tuned here to Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place. Till next time, everybody, stay safe. We'll see you on the other side.